An unmotivated employee can affect the entire environment, mood, and productivity for a department, and not in a good way. In this episode, we will talk about the possible causes and ways of dealing with an unmotivated employee. Hi, I'm Rick Kendall.
And I'm Fred Ball.
Welcome to Management Mastery. The purpose of these podcasts is to share what each of us has learned about good and bad management during our 20 years of experience both as managers and executive coaches. During that time, we have coached managers at every level in companies from Fortune 100 to brand new startups in all major businesses, including nonprofits, government, and education. So whether you're just starting in your first management position or are an experienced manager looking to strengthen your management skills, we know our podcast will be valuable for you.
The signs of an unmotivated employee are not hard for a manager to spot, and we will go into those. What is sometimes less obvious is the negative impact such employees can have on a department. While it isn't always contagious, a lack of motivation can spread to others in the group. In any case, an unmotivated employee is not contributing their full effort to the department and is thus a liability the manager must address. Today, we will talk about how to spot an unmotivated employee, what some of the more common causes are, and the ways a manager can address them.
There are a number of ways to recognize an unmotivated staff member. As we just said, sometimes it's pretty obvious. I mean, there can be a lack of productivity. You know, they're not cranking out the work like they should be. They can be late getting to work. They take too long to start each day. They're the last one to leave the coffee pot and get to their desk, kind of thing. They may have more sick days than other people, sick days in quotes, and they can be moody with their colleagues and just not easy to get along with.
Yeah, they can show a lack of focus. They can show a distantness from their colleagues. They make inappropriate or negative comments to colleagues. There's low or no participation in team meetings. And they may show a reluctance to take on work or additional responsibilities beyond the basic minimum.
So what causes a lack of motivation in an employee? And what can the manager or should the manager do about it?
Well, there's a number of possibilities. There could be a lack of self-confidence, not sure that they can do the work. An example of that might be an older person who has been successful in their career but perhaps hasn't had a job for a couple of years and needs to work, and they come back and you hire them and find that they have a total lack of self-confidence, and you're going to have to help them. So you may remind them of why you hired them, the relevant strengths you saw at the time. Try by talking to them specifically what problems they are having and with what aspects of their job. You can discover what help they need and provide it, and sometimes even provide a mentor who has been successful, is either successful now in the job or has been successful in the job. And you can imagine how a young person might feel excited about coaching someone who is older.
Yeah. And I've worked over the years with a number of people who got to a point with a specific assignment where they just felt overwhelmed and pretty much had given up. And a lot of times I found that sometimes what you need to do, what I've coached clients to do when they have an employee that's got that problem, is to make sure that the employees understand the priorities of the assignment. I mean, sometimes people will get stressed out on an aspect of an assignment that's really not that important, and they really need somebody to help them get the right perspective on things. You can also, I've coached people to have them work with the employee to break up the assignment into manageable pieces, so that the staff person can feel they're making progress, and they're taking one bite at a time out of the assignment. And as you mentioned earlier, connect them with colleagues to get advice on how to succeed at the task, because the colleague has done it before. And overall, I've advised, set timelines that are manageable, again, so that the person can feel that they're making progress a little bit at a time, and that's getting the job done.
Another situation is where an employee feels burned out. And here it's a matter of the manager being aware of their people and what may be happening. All of us have personal problems that can impact work. And sometimes the manager they may understand at a high level what the person's dealing with, but they may not understand at a more tactical level. So they have to understand what the person's problem is, and they have to be prepared to help them with that. So it may be something professional. Do they have their priorities straight, or are they worried about the wrong things? Or are they taking on more than is necessary to do well in their position? It can also be personal, and this is what I was referring to before, that the individual may have someone who's living with them who has cancer, and that's going to sometimes terribly upset their life. And so there you want to see, as the manager, if there are any adjustments you can make in their working arrangements to ease the problem, perhaps doing remote work, perhaps taking a little bit of time off in order to get their head straight.
Yeah, you can also give them a project where they're working with as a member of a team and not by themselves. I think particularly when you've got an assignment that's just yours, it's much easier to lose perspective, and having other people working on the project with you keeps you more, I think, grounded and focused on the job, and makes it less overwhelming.
I think that's a good point, Rick, that sometimes it makes sense to put people on a project where they will work with others.
Right.
Then you can find a situation where someone finds the work unfulfilling or not meaningful or counter to their values. I had a situation with a scientist who was also a manager, and as you know, it takes a long time for a pharma to develop a new drug to be put to market. Can take up to 10 years, can take $2.5 billion, and there's only a 12% success rate in those things. Yet the person that I was working with felt that the company was not doing enough research, and so went to their boss, and the boss said, look, we've got timelines that we've got to match. If we're going to bring this thing to market in any kind of reasonable time frame. And the manager that I was working with just felt that was not, that he, from his value standpoint, it was not the right thing to do, and he ultimately left the company.
Yeah. Sometimes that's the only way. Another cause for lack of motivation is that the employee feels unappreciated. That why am I knocking myself out? Nobody cares about what I'm doing. It's not important. They just don't see what I'm doing, or they don't care about it. And, in those cases, what a good manager will try to do is improve or increase the employee's visibility. Bring it up at staff meetings, what John or Jane is working on, what they've accomplished so far, why it's important to the organization. In a public setting, show appreciation for the job the employee is doing and why it's important to the organization, so that they feel appreciated.
The another thing that can happen is that an employee feels that the environment is toxic. I had a coaching case where the manager received feedback from an employee survey just before I started with them that said that there was some toxicity in the environment. And when I met with him, he said, I don't feel that at all. But what we found from him doing some more investigation, that there were some people that felt that the environment was toxic because he seemed to stress a particular way that he wanted the work done, when some people felt more comfortable doing it in another way. And once we began to talk about it and really dig down into it and look at it, he realized that he was pushing his own point of view, and certainly there was room for others to have their point of view as well. But sometimes the person is also being hypersensitive, and there you want to discuss the relationships within the department in order to help the staff member to better fit in. You also want to be open to the possibility that the employee is just in the wrong position, and help them to transition perhaps to a new spot.
Oh, I have worked with people where that was absolutely the case. And in fact, I've worked with a person who seemed to have a knack for taking positions, inappropriate positions. This person worked. One of their jobs was at a television company, a television network, and the person didn't even own a television set. They left that job where they just didn't fit in with their colleagues, and the person was also a teetotaler. They didn't drink, so their next job they went to a liquor company. It was like they seemed programmed to put themselves into environments where they just did not fit. So I don't know what you do in a case like that, but I guess our message here for managers is be open to the possibility that you've got an employee that just really shouldn't be where they are. And, in my experience in working with clients is that by the time the manager decides that it's time to show the door to somebody, they're on their way to it anyway. They're not happy and they're looking around already. So, sometimes you're doing people a favor by saying, look, maybe this is not the place for you.
Then another issue that can come up is either a personal or psychological issues. And that could be things like depression, anxiety, or personal problems outside of work. And you want to look into that. You want to discuss confidentially with your HR professionals to see if they have any suggestions. And they may recommend that you get the person assistance through the employee assistance program. So in situations like that, you may be in a situation where you need help.
Right. And I think just stepping back, looking at the kind of the overall picture of an unmotivated employee, regardless of what the cause is, I think the first question a manager needs to ask themselves is this person worth the effort to save? Because it will take effort to bring some people around, and you have to decide that. And if you're not sure of your answer, then the best approach may be to say to the person, well, you just don't seem motivated. I just don't get the sense that this is what you want to do, and maybe you'll be happier somewhere else. And there are times, and in my experience, when a manager has done this, there are times when that will wake up an employee. I mean, showing them the open door can be a real slap upside the head that gets their attention. And I've seen cases where the individual did an immediate 180-degree turn and was suddenly motivated because they realized that their lack of motivation was threatening their job. Assessing if the person is worth the effort, and hopefully they are, that they can make a valuable contribution to the department. But as the manager, you have to make that decision.
Yeah, and if the person is worth the effort, then you have to understand as the manager that it is not something that's going to happen overnight. It's going to take time and effort. You're going to have to figure out what's important, but it's the manager follows up regularly with the staff person to review, talk about progress, set goals, and then review the progress and plot the course ahead. It's important to communicate to the staff person the things that you are looking for that will show that they are motivated. Among those attitudes and behaviors are setting and successfully completing challenging goals, showing a commitment that is in line with the goals of the team, identifying and acting on opportunities that may present themselves, and displaying a general optimism about their work and the team.
Yeah, I think one last thought on that, and that is that a lot of times the lack of motivation comes from a feeling, well, nobody cares about what I'm doing, and if they don't care, why should I? So all of those things you just laid out, Fred, and the manager, a wise manager, needs to keep on them, will send the message to the employee, yeah, we care about you, and we care about what you're doing, and it's important, and you're doing a good job. But you gotta overcome that feeling in the employee that nobody cares about what I'm doing.
Yeah, I agree.
So in this episode, we covered management issues related to having an unmotivated employee and why it's important for a manager to deal with an unmotivated staff person. Such a person can negatively affect the morale of an entire department. Plus, they're not pulling their full weight as a team member. And we discussed a number of possible causes for a lack of motivation in the job and ways a manager can deal with them. We hope you have found this podcast useful and will come back again for more management mastery. If you have any comments about this or any of our episodes, or would like to find out more about our other services, including one-on-one coaching and group seminars for managers, visit our website at careercoachclass.com. Thanks for listening.